Support for this podcast comes from St. Alphonsus Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Clinics, with physicians, physical therapists, and trainers who treat sports and performance-related injuries, with locations across the valley. More information on services and locations at stalphonsus.org/stayactive.
In collaboration with Boise State Public Radio, the Community Library presents a new podcast, Sheep Stories. I'm host Vance Cunningham. Join me as we listen through the archives of the Trailing of the Sheep Festival to learn about the Scottish, Basque, and Peruvian immigrants foundational to the sheep herding industry over the past century. Hear their stories of traveling to Idaho and learning the language of the sheep. Find Sheep Stories wherever you get your podcasts and at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. Some interesting stories to share with you. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Quagga mussels are back, and so is the state's effort to try to get them out of the Snake River. It's an expensive effort, of course, and we've got an update. We'll also tell you about an Idaho professor who has discovered a moon around a planet. We'll tell you which planet in just a moment. And also an update on mail in Ketchum. It is the topic of a heated debate in the Wood River Valley. So we've got that for you too on this Monday, September the 15th. And here we go with today's stories. Quagga mussels are still present in the Snake River. Julie Lucata has the latest on the invasive species and how Idaho again will be conducting an aggressive fight.
The Idaho Department of Agriculture says eradication efforts cleared about half of the affected waterways since last year, or 3.5 miles, but the invasive species remains present between Shoshone and Twin Falls. Director of the department, Chanel Tewalt, says without intervention, the infestation could take over irrigation and hydropower pipes, costing hundreds of millions of dollars in direct and indirect cost.
In some cases, it's cheaper to replace the infrastructure than it is to clean out the quagga mussels.
The mussels have not been found in nearby reservoirs in the Magic Valley. The invasive species outcompetes other food sources in the ecosystem, which could affect the sturgeon population.
We would not expect a sturgeon population to survive a quagga mussel infestation in the Snake River. So while our treatment obviously has downsides to it, they are temporary, as opposed to an infestation, which is forevermore.
The Idaho Department is planning another round of aggressive copper treatment in the Mid-Snake River this fall. Quagga mussels will be considered eradicated if they remain undetected in the waterways for 5 years in a row. Julie Lucata, Boise State Public Radio News.
A years-long headache over how mail is or is not delivered in the Wood River Valley was thought to have been solved, but nearly a year after a probable solution was offered, Ketchum residents and even city officials say they're not happy.
I was in the post office for around 45 minutes to an hour. Not really surprised to anybody, but the vibes were really, really bad. And it's so unfortunate.
This is Ketchum City Councilman Tripp Hutchinson. We've been reporting on the dilemma for most Ketchum residents and businesses. No, they couldn't get home mail delivery. Yes, they had a new post office, but they then had to pay for a P.O. box to get their mail. After a long, drawn-out process, federal officials agreed to give free P.O. boxes to Ketchum residents, but
8 months ago, I put in my application for my free P.O. box. 6 months ago, I got told that I had to pay for another year of my box, and then at some point, I would get a refund in the mail.
For a few years now, the U.S. Postal Service has insisted that the City of Ketchum had decided not to have home delivery of mail in 1998, but the Mountain Express reports that there is absolutely no record of any vote by the city that would have banned home mail delivery. We're expecting to get new job numbers later this week. A month ago, the State Department of Labor put Idaho's unemployment rate at 3.7%. Taking a look at the latest number of new unemployment claims, that is trending down, with most of the new jobless claims coming from the construction, healthcare, and manufacturing job sectors. The big, beautiful bill, now law, has begun impacting more lives. For instance, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Those benefits are harder to come by, and that is putting more of a strain on our region's food banks. Phineas Pope is with Northwest Public Broadcasting.
President Trump signed his administration's spending and tax bill into law. In part, it creates new work requirements for who's eligible to receive SNAP. According to the Urban Institute, that could force some people who use the program to turn to food banks instead.
Things are getting a little hectic right now.
That's Carlos Rojo. He's a food bank coordinator for the Community Action Center.
We are seeing a lot of us trying to think ahead, prep, and see how we are best able to continue to serve our community with these cuts in mind.
I'm Phineas Pope, reporting.
A University of Idaho professor is at the forefront of some otherworldly scholarship, the discovery of another moon orbiting Uranus. Lauren Patterson is with Northwest Public Broadcasting.
At just 6 miles in diameter, the 29th moon orbiting Uranus is also the smallest. That's according to University of Idaho physics professor Matthew Hedman, who was part of the team that made the discovery. Hedman says the 13 rings encircling Uranus are exceptionally narrow, and the icy giant's moons are orbiting so closely that their gravitational pulls can tug on each other, leading to collisions.
It indicates we don't really understand what's going on in this system, and that tells us there's still a lot about how things are going on in space that we still need to learn.
He says understanding how the moons interact could help scientists learn more about the physics of asteroid belts. The research team was led by the Southwest Research Institute. I'm Lauren Patterson, reporting.
And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. What do you say? We'll be back here on Tuesday, and you can stay in touch between now and then. You can go online to BoiseStatePublicRadio.org. You can download the free Boise State Public Radio app. And for goodness sakes, would you please do me a favor? Tell your friends and family members about The Connector and tell them, they can find it wherever they find their favorite podcasts. In the meantime, for you, thanks for listening.